Buenos nachos, amigos, over there. I'm Petey Ray. This is a Record Breakers. Welcome to the Record Breakers Music Podcast. A music podcast where we share albums with each other as friends. Gather around this virtual lunch table to share music and share albums and in community. I don't know, the book club for music where we take turns sharing albums. I'm Petey Ray, your man, no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad. We've got Brett.
I've got a pair of pliers and a peg winder, so I'm ready to fidget.
We've got Drew.
Squad goals.
And we've got Patrick.
Hello, Pedro from the other side of the couch.
We got a particularly long couch.
Particularly long arms.
Wow.
We have a gimmick.
We're here hanging
Live
out.
the gimmick, I believe is the term.
Yes, own the gimmick, live the gimmick. We're here to talk about music, and I'm providing the album this week. Kind of like almost like an emotional reactionary pick, but still a really cool album by artist who unfortunately is no longer with us, but fantastic voice, fantastic singer, member of the group Shinee, by the name of Jonghyun. It is a fantastic album. It's a really cool album, and it's really cool kind of like to talk about this, but let's talk about some expectations. I don't know what order. Let's go. Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this album?
So, I knew it was K-pop, and I had heard about Jonghyun's death because it sort of it invaded my Twitter in a way I did not expect, because you are sort of the only person I'm really friends with that is deeply immersed in K-pop, but it was one of those things that, like, the internet was talking about it, so I was aware of that, but I had never heard any of his music, so I was certainly curious to see why everyone was so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think the order mattered really here, but Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Yeah, the same sort of happened to me. Like, the people I know that are into the East Asian pop culture, as it were, are a very narrow subset of people, I thought. And then, like, this sort of, like, his passing blew up on social media in a very, very big way. And so it was something that, like, I was aware of the person. I knew it was coming from the K-pop variety. And I knew that it was something that was going to be well polished, because that's what they do. But besides that, like, K-pop is a very wide range of things, so I didn't know what end of the pool we were dipping ourselves into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Brett, what were your expectations?
I didn't know shit about anything. I knew what I saw Petey say because I'm old and I only follow Petey in the world of people who would talk about this. So, like, I came into this and I had kind of a feeling that there was that I may be getting into a hip hopist realm of the poppy genre, but, like, I could, like, honestly, even if I knew that, I wouldn't really know what to think, because that's a really big genre as well. So I had no clue what I was getting into, but I knew that this was going to be, you know, this is it. This is the final hurrah. So yeah. That's what I knew.
Yeah. This is Jonghyun's first and I guess at this point only full-length solo album. It came out a couple of years ago. It's very much musically like it's very much R&B, like neo soul. Has some like throwback elements. Has some like really nice elements there. Has some nice danceable songs, and then some nice like baby making songs. And it
don't be
has
blue.
Nice,
we don't play blue, Petey. Come on.
Yeah. It has some nice variety to it. I think the biggest element is Jonghyun's voice is fantastic. Like he has such a cool, like sexy, like soulful voice. Like and he hits these like R&B like R&B dude high notes, which are just fantastic. And it just has some really like some great texture to his voice, and some great like feels to his voice. And then like he just has a nice variety, has a nice diversity in the album, with the different songs, and like it just works so well. But yeah, Patrick, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the theme of the elements?
It is super polished K-pop, very much like you said, dancey R&B of that corner of the genre, where there's some like heavy, like electro housey sounding synths. There's definitely some slightly trappy moments in songs, because that's a thing right now, or several years ago when this was made. But like it really does kind of hang on his voice and his ability to do more than one thing with it. Like a lot of singers do one thing and only one thing well, and I feel like Jonghyun has a really versatile voice that he does a lot with on the album, and it kind of makes it an interesting listen.
Mm-hmm. Drew, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the theme elements?
To me, the music here is really stand out. It uses like a lot of the great tricks that you sort of saw in the 90s, like dance, the R&B sort of thing that came out. The tone of the whole get your groove on thing was that feel from the drop. And the weird thing is there's always like bits of like Western influence that you can sort of pluck out in the things, get your groove on thing, that you can sort of pick out of what Petey brings, but I've never been hit over the head with it. Like I was kind of here. It was something that was just flat out like amazing. It was, we'll get into it a little bit when we get into the songs, but it definitely reminded me of some of the hits of like the Genuine era of the R&B.
Swing, a little bit of like
R&B, yeah, and it was like that influence like never smacked me over the head. Like the influence of Western coming into like an Eastern sensibility, like an East Asian sensibility, never hit me more than this album did. But at the same time, like with all that music, the musicality to it, and the spit and polish and high shine of it, you got his vocals, which were just flat out great. There is some stretching of the vocal cords on this that is just amazing. The layering of it with the music and how it fits in is just great. It's weird to me though, sitting here loving this but knowing what we were going into when we were doing this, because this is the point where like I would normally go like I can't wait to see what happens next, where it's like, is he going to go more into the funky weirdness, or is he going more into the soul weirdness that sort of ended the album? Like where's the next, man? And that it sort of was like, oh damn, like this is why people were talking about it a lot, because it was like there's a lot to dig into here that is just really well done.
Mm-hmm. Brett, how would you describe this album musically?
I mean, it's dance pop with a lot of influences from R&B and hip hop, and on top of that is a variety of vocal styling. The vocals are percussive at times. There's quite a bit of time spent in registers that I have not seen done very often in records from a guy on this podcast. Like the range is impressive, and sometimes there's like the pop music anguish in the voice, like they're singing while somebody's like sawing at their leg or something, like they're singing after having just had the most bitter piece of candy in the world. But it's breathy at times, but like not for very long. It's a wide gamut of sounds. It's not like one particular hammered down, this is the way that this person. It's not like a one trick pony. It's not Tom Waits. It's not Bob Dylan. It's not even people that spend time all in their high register either. Like it is quite a good mix. Vocals aside, the beats they're well made. I mean, it's crafted. It's what you come to expect. I don't think I've had anything from Petey that I'm like, man, that's a shit production. But it's not exactly memorable in a lot of places. There are some places that I'll stand out. And because I'm a dirtbag, there's some really, really great broken English. And it makes me wish that I knew other languages so I could hear other kinds of languages being broken by other groups of people. I want to hear, like, somebody from Jamaica speak Japanese. Like, I want to hear all the fun stuff. But yeah, there's it's not like a straight up butcher, and it's not like something that I want to make fun of. But it's like it's well meaning, and it fits in, and it's very memorable. But this is a well crafted, well produced. Like everything from the way that they mix things to the way that they use some really great delays, like very like hobby grade delay. They knew exactly when they wanted that to slap back. It's great. It's well made.
Yeah. And once you get into kind of some of the like key tracks, I mean, obviously the title track, off of the bat, She Is. It is a really fantastic way to kind of open the track, open the album. It has that 90s sound. It has some of those like really cool elements. It has his voice is fantastic in this one, and it has that like great range. And it's a great like feel for like the sounds or some of the sounds that you're gonna get on the album. And then you have a song like Moon, which is Jonghyun did a lot of things for the world. He was very much a pro LGBT advocate. He spoke of mental health. And of those things also, Korea has kind of a low birth rate going on right now. And he decided that he wanted to remedy that with this song right here and see if he can make some babies. Because this is, I mean, he's going to take you to the moon. He's on his rocket. It's like, and like those, like, that chorus has such a sexiness to it. Like, and like those high notes, like, it's just dripping. Yes, I said dripping.
Hey, we're not judging you.
Explicit tag on the podcast.
You could hear a giant sploosh and coming from South Korea.
No.
Nope. Stop it.
Cut it out. Yes. And then you also have then you have something like Dress Up, which has just a really great dynamic. With its like really with this really nice hook, and like with the instrumental, which had a really nice like energy to it. It was really fantastic. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I'll join you on the Record Breakers thing. The opening track, She Is, super like K-poppy in production. Again, like they know what they're doing with that, almost to a fault. But like it's really clean. There's some really like I always love finding the hey, let's just throw some pop and slap bass underneath this because it's an R&B track or it's a dance track, and that song has some fun bass in it, and the vocals again like really nice, and that's probably going to be I think the theme of everyone is how good the vocals are. White T-shirt, really like a fun song. Even I don't know what he's talking about. The only words in the song I really understand are something about a white t-shirt, but like it's just happy and fun and like has a great sound to it. There's like actual piano. I don't know if it was a real piano, but like a normal sounding piano in it, not like, you know, some sort of
I didn't
keyboard.
sound real, but yes, it sounded big.
Yeah, like, and it sounded really good, and it's not a thing you hear a lot in dance pop. There's a lot of various keyboardy sounds, but not a lot of fairly traditional sounding piano. And then Cocktail. This song is the somewhere between 88 and 92 ballad, like the most ballad that ever balladed. But it's a really fun song, and the chorus on it, like the vocals on the chorus are like kind of what Petey's saying is like this dude had an incredible voice, and even I think this sort of overall, like the album's a really good example of I don't know what he's saying, and I don't even care. I like the way he's saying it because he has a really expressive voice and like this impressive range, not just in terms of like, you know, note to note how high he can go, but like he's got like 4 or 5 different voices he kind of can use to round out you know, a song and you know, different tonal changes that are not easy to do and not something a lot of people do. You know, most singers, you're lucky if they got 2 things they do well. This guy does 4 or 5. So as a vocalist, like it really, really strikes you, even if you don't understand the words.
Yeah. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, She Is. The way the synth like works sort of in the beginning, that taper, the polish of that, immediately getting toes tapping is brilliant. When I brought up Genuine, this song for some reason is just something that I can hear in the back of my head at like a wedding reception as like a tool for the DJ to like get somebody on the dance floor, like for sure. Like for the last wedding I went to, it was Pony, which is why I brought up Genuine. But
okay.
like, yep.
That'll get grandma dancing.
Really weird to have a very drunk, my friend's mother was super drunk.
Yep, that's the best.
We'll say that and we'll leave it for the rest off the podcast. But there's a club in like Hongdae that is playing this right now, and somebody is saying whatever the Korean phrase is for "that's my jam" like tonight. Like that is happening. I almost guarantee it. Dress Up. The hard panning in this and the way it bounces like automatically like it makes my head, like at least with my headphones on, like start moving to the beat. And I listen to this mostly on my headphones, so it was like every time it came on, that like panning just was like effective, we'll say. And it was another one where like She Is just a banger. It's a dance track, and I was loving those out of this album. And then Suit Up. You want to talk about baby making music? We got Suit Up right at the end to just sort of leave you like, yeah, that's what you came here for, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can dig it. I can dig it.
I can dig it. Brett, can you dig it? Also, what's some of the key tracks?
You could say I like this bridge. No, She Is. She Is. It opens up with a reversed beat. And you know, I you can get right into this shiz. It's it got little guitar licks and some really fun bass. It goes very, very well. It goes well with the song. It wasn't really the showstopper, but it was obviously well made. White T-shirt is the by far, I think, the best produced song and most memorable one on this album. It's got the big sounding piano, a steady dance beat behind it, and a good like foundation for the lyrics to come through. And it's a song that could stand at any club in any city I've been at. Like regardless of language. It's the beat and just the notes that it doesn't even matter what the lyrics are. The vocal, the notes that the voice hits. It could stand up. And there's something about this album that I like in my listens. I was like, what's going on? What is the thing? There are mallet solos, and my ear can't tell a marimba from a vibraphone by sound, but boy, the mallets came through on this album. Another song where they had that dress up. How are you going to dress up tonight? It's a really cool sounding song. The delay on it is really great, and they have the mallets going on. It's a little more subdued. But like the little things, like the little tiny things that like were put in, didn't have to be there. Not quite a sproing. I would like to say that a marimba or even a xylophone maybe is a sproing. A marimba or a vibraphone is not a sproing.
What are your thoughts on the glockenspiel?
It's the name glockenspiel is better than the name sproing, but the instrument itself demands respect.
Yes.
But, I mean, there are solid tracks all up and down this album. You could pick apart any single one of them, but those were the ones that stuck with me.
Yeah. Let's bring it back around the horn now that we've talked about the tracks. Talk about some conclusive thoughts. Patrick, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I say this all the time, but like, go listen to this. Like, this dude's got an incredible voice. It's really unfortunate this is the last of it. Like, seriously, people, if you have mental health issues, take care of yourself. There are lots of resources out there. Somebody wants you here. This is just his story is so unfortunate because this is really good music. It is very K-pop, but I feel like it's pretty approachable because thematically there's a lot pulling from things you're probably familiar with in American, R&B and pop history. And again, like, what a voice. Like, just unique and interesting and able to do a lot of things really well. And, it's sad how it all like ended, but go listen to the album. Go celebrate a life that's unfortunately no longer here.
Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album?
This is something that, like I said earlier, is an album where it is so incredibly good that it would be one of those ones like Love X Stereo where it's like, okay, when's the next time PD is going to bring this on? Because I'm looking forward to it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's something that deserves to be heard, even if it is in remembrance instead of the future. But it is something that I think that just is. It's well polished, which you expect from this genre, but it also is like a lot of fun. It's a dancey record, and I can super dig that. And like Pat said, it is sort of that weird place where like a lot of times the people who are in a weird place in their life or troubled in their life can make some really great art. Whether it be something like this, or literary, you had a lot of authors that had a lot of problems with mental health, but it's something that, if you suffer from it, don't let the things that you put into the world be sort of an end and sort of just all that you have left. Like, keep going, figure out something, because I would like to hear more out of this guy, and unfortunately, we're at where we're at with it.
Yeah. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album?
Well, it all probably wraps up similarly to the other guys. Mental health and issues and artistic talent tend to go hand in hand, and I can only imagine what the burden of fame has to add on top of that. Makes me question a lot about the heavily produced pop acts of any kind, of any place, and the burden that are put on the shoulders of young people that don't really have the mental capacity to deal with a lot of that stuff. And they do that in exchange for fame, which is is also a I wouldn't know. I've never been famous for anything, but it's I would like to think that this is the last post-suicide album that we have to deal with, but that's unfortunately unrealistic, because that's how it goes. But I wish I would have heard this album in different situations, but I guess we didn't get to make that decision. So it's unfortunate, but I enjoyed my time with this music. It was not a burden for me to listen to over and over. It's well produced, as you would expect, but it stands on its own more than just it being a novelty because, hey, the guy's not here anymore.
I think overall the big thing, it is you get to feel Jonghyun's passion for music. Like he just loved doing it, and this is I picked it not just because it was his solo work, but because it was his hands in it, which is obviously with pop music, oftentimes they will simply be the front men for the creative force that is behind them. And with Shinee, they have a lot of songwriters that work with them as the group. And I was going to bring the group's album. I was thinking about bringing the group's album because that would be more like, this is why I love Shinee, therefore this is why I miss this guy. But I figured it was actually more appropriate and for reasons to celebrate. Well, this is him. He wrote all the words that he sang. He had a hand in the production work of almost all of the songs. This was him. And you can see his passion. You can hear it. You can hear it in his voice and his love of music. It's not the only music he's had out there, but it's a lot of outside of this is a lot of singles and little compilation, digital releases and things like that. So he was able to just release more music, and he did work on stuff and filmed a music video just before his unfortunate passing. So there is music out there that might be released. So that we'll have to see what SM decides, and what they think the prudent course of action would be. But we'll see with that. But it's just a really great album, and it's a really great piece of work. Irrespective of having to remember him by it, it's just a really fun album. He has a really great voice, had a really great voice. And it's a shame that he's no longer with us. I will always remember him and his big smile, and his love of being on stage and being a singer. At the end of the day, if you're out there, you're struggling, reach out. I hope you get to reach out to someone, somewhere, because the world would be a less place without you, just like the world is just a little bit less of a good place without Jonghyun. We want you here.
Word.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we get to wrap things up in kind of fun little haikus, with our main event of the evening, our haiku reviews. Let's get down to it. Patrick, what is your haiku?
K-pop's bright polish, combined with a brilliant voice. Unfortunate end.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
Perfect album to just put on and groove to. May he rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what is your haiku?
More than expected. It's poppy and well produced. So unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. And then I've got my haiku. 수고했어요. 정말 고생했어요. 고마워, 정현. And that is that. For our thoughts on Jonghyun's She Is. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Follow along at home with us. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it will be provided by him. What do you got for us next week?
We're going to return to my never-ending obsession with Bob Mould music with Husker Du and their album Candy Apple Grey.
Mm-hmm. So look forward to that next week. I may actually still be here next week.
You may.
Through the magic of podcasting, I'll be on this couch. So look forward to that. Episode 200, which is crazy. But that's next week, and this is this week, and you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Brett is at HeyBBBaybird, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at XJuiceFX. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. or belly.net for this and other shows. We're all over the place. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, love you guys. Bye.
Noodles.